Swami Shabbat.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Shri Guru, Shri Guru.
Namo Om Shupadaya Krishna Krishna Vishnu Namaste Saraswati Devi Nirvase Sheshamana Paschatya. So this morning we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse number 30 and 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir. Na jatva paiti ahiti birhidi sprishan. Please chant.
Param Shritvam Avastaveshalam. Param Shritvam Avastaveshalam. Nirasta Shaucham Bata Sadhu Kurvate.
Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate.
Yasangaha Pushkara Lochana Patir. Najatva Paita Vritti Virvidishvishan.
Eta param stritvam apastapesham.
Nirasta saucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasangrihat puskara lochana pati. Na jatu apeti abriti vidhi spisham.
Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir. Na jatva paitya vriti virhidi sprishan. Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta shaucham bata sadhu kurvate. Yasam grihat pushkara lochana patir. Na jatva paitya vriti virhidi sprishan. Eta param stritvam apastapeshalam. Nirasta shaucham sadhu kurvate.
Yasangrihat pushkaralochanapatir
Okay, word to word, Eta, all these women, Param, highest, Stritvam, womanhood, Apastapeshalam, without individuality, Nirasta, without, Shaucham, purity, Bata sadhu, auspiciously glorified, Kurvate, do they make, Yasam, from whose, Grihat, homes, Pushkara lochana, the lotus-eyed pati, the lotus-eyed, pati, husband, Najatu, never at any time, apaiti, goes away, ahitibhi, by presentation, hidi, in the heart, sparshan, endeared. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. All these women auspiciously glorify their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of God, had never left them alone at home. He always pleased their hearts by making valuable presentations. Purport. The devotees of the Lord are purified souls. As soon as the devotees surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord sincerely, the Lord accepts them, and thus the devotees at once become free from all material contaminations. Such devotees are above the three modes of material nature. There is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Women, merchants, and laborers are not very intelligent, and thus it is very difficult for them to understand the science of God or to be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Don't worry, Prabhupada doesn't spare anybody. They are more materialistic and less than them. Less than what stated before. And less than them are the Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Kanakas, Kankas, Yavanas, Khasas, Malachas, etc., etc. But all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in devotional service of the Lord. By engagement in the service of the Lord, the designated disqualifications are removed, and as pure souls they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. The fallen girls under the clutches of Bhaumasura sincerely prayed to Lord Sri Krishna for their deliverance, and their sincerity of purpose made them at once pure by virtue of devotion. The Lord therefore accepted them as his wives, and thus their lives became glorified. Such auspicious glorification was still more glorified when the Lord played with them as the most devoted husband. The Lord used to live with his 16,100 wives constantly. He expanded himself into 16,108 plenary portions, and each and every one of them was the Lord himself without deviation from the original personality. The Shruti mantra affirms that the Lord can expand himself into many. As husband of so many wives, he pleased them all with the presentations, even at a costly endeavor. He brought the Parijata plant from heaven and implanted it at the palace of Satyabhama, one of the principal queens. If, therefore, anyone desires the Lord to become one's husband, the Lord fulfills such desires in full. That is both for men and women, this last sentence. Okay, Akuti Prabhu had covered the last two paragraphs yesterday very nicely in the class, so I won't be talking on that. I have to cover 31 too, so maybe we can chant verse number 31 together. What's that? Oh, okay. So can we put on the board number 31 because we can chant that together? We can do it together. Evam vidha gadantinam sagira purayoshitam nirikshanena bhinandan samstitena yayau hari. Translation. While the ladies of the capital of Hastinapur were greeting him and talking in this way, the Lord, smiling, accepted their good greetings, and casting the grace of his glance over them, he departed from the city. Nama Om Shri Padaya Krishna Vishna Bhutalesh Mate Bhaktivedanta Santanani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charine Nirviteshe Shunyavari Paschatya Deshadamine Tvai Menanya Vishaya Mate Madhupate Sakrivatim Madhvahata Dadhagan Geva Vaghamudamati. So, one of the first philosophical truth that as devotees we are introduced to when we come to Krishna consciousness is what? That's right, we are not this body. And to be honest, when I looked at this verse that was assigned to me, I thought, Shri Gaurangi, who assigns verses, she is a woman, and she assigned it to me, who is a woman, because this is verse spoken by women about other women. So I was thinking, wow, I've never been as conscious about being a woman till I became a devotee. I grew up with 3 brothers, no sisters. So for me, whatever my brothers did, I did. I played with marbles and I played in dirt. And when they learned how to play chess, I played chess with them. And when they went to engineering school, I went to engineering school. And except a little older, when it was time for a high school dance, my parents told me, no, I can't go for that, but they could go for it. So I realized the difference, although my brothers convinced my parents that they'll take care of me. So I did get to go.
You a nice boy?
Yes, in Philadelphia Temple. So is there something wrong that I'm doing, I'm thinking? I've been practicing Krishna consciousness and now I'm becoming aware that I'm so conscious that I'm a woman. I look at this verse and I think it's about women and the women speaking about women. And so is the process not working? Am I doing something wrong while practicing Krishna consciousness that I'm becoming so conscious of being a woman? So I thought, let us explore that. And the best way to explore it is, let's see what the great Vaishnavis, what do they do in the Bhagavatam? So one of the greatest Vaishnavi we have, so many great Vaishnavis. I mean, we're talking about the gopis, the highest, But starting from the first canto, we have Mother Kunti Devi. And when she's right in front of her Lord Krishna, she says a beautiful prayer. And this is the second prayer. Tatha paramahamsana munina mamalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartham katham pashyema hi striyaha. Katham pashyema hi striyaha. How can we women know you? She is in front of her Lord and she's thinking herself as a woman. She says to Krishna, you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service onto the hearts of advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. So these great souls can discriminate themselves between matter and spirit. Whereas I'm a woman. What do I know about that? How can we women know you perfectly? Seems like she's conscious of being a woman, even though she's standing right in front of Krishna. In the third canto, Devahuti calls herself Madhumati. No, she doesn't call herself Madhumati. That's.
She might have, we didn't hear.
She calls herself something similar. I just thought about Madhumati because Parijata, in a very affectionate way, calls me Mandamati instead of Madhumati. She calls me Mandamati because she knows I'm less intelligent, but she says in a very affectionate way. It's too bad I don't come to Mangalartik and she doesn't come for Guru Puja, so I never get to see her anymore. But anyway, no, Devahuti calls herself as Mandadhi, which is the same meaning. Mandamati, Mandadhi is the same meaning. So she says, she's in front of her son, who is Kapila Dev, who is the Lord himself. So again, she's front of her Lord, her son, our Lord. And she says, this is what she says. She's asking Kapila, her son, to tell her about spiritual life. And she says, my dear son Kapila, after all, I'm a woman. She's saying, I'm a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. She's Mandadhi. She's calling herself. The men are not calling these ladies. They're calling themselves. But if you kindly explain it to me, even though I'm not very intelligent, I can understand. Then you see, there's so many other examples, but there are other examples like Urvashi. She talks pretty intensely about women, that I'm not going to bother to repeat, basically because it's in a little different way, not the focus of my subject matter here. But she mentions Mohini Murti, which is Krishna's incarnation as a woman. She mentions things about women, how women are. And here we see the ladies are talking. Some ladies are talking about other ladies. And what are they saying? They're saying here, all these women auspiciously glorify their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. So they're talking that these women that Krishna married are without individuality and without purity. So we see all these women are identifying themselves and other women as they're talking about Krishna. So I was thinking, I thought about this subject and why are they addressing themselves? Why are they being conscious? Why are they referring themselves as women? And I really thought about it. So I went and studied what they're saying, why are they saying. So going back to which we will just look into a couple of them. going back to Kunti's prayers. In Kunti's prayers, the prayer that first she says before the one that I read, I am feeling so cold here, even despite. Do you mind covering? My teeth are jittering a little bit.
You want some tea?
I think I just need my head to be covered. Okay. Anyway, so in the previous verse, Kunti Devi says, Maya Javani Kachanam. She's saying that you're covered, you are the eternal irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. So she says that to Krishna at first, and then she says, she says, Tatha Paramahamsanam. She's saying that, but you have descended to propagate the science to the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who can discriminate between matter and spirit. She says, but then how can we women know you perfectly? Because we are women. She doesn't describe that directly like Devahuti does, but that's what she's meaning. That they can discriminate, but we can't as women. But then the next verse she says is Vasudevaya. What is that? Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Thank you. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. And then in the end it says Govindaya Namo Namaha. So she says, let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord. So she's not focusing on herself being a woman, no. What it is that for me it was like, wow, the light bulb went off or on, however you say it. You said light bulb went off? On. On, okay. I realized that why she's saying that, even though I'm less intelligent, the light bulb went on. She's saying that because she is glorifying her Lord. She's not putting herself down, no. Her focus is not on herself. Her focus is on her Lord. She's extolling the glories of her Lord. That's why she says, let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. O Krishna, Govindaya Namo Namaha. She's saying that because you are who you are, because if I surrender to you, O dear Lord, then even though I'm a woman, I can understand these subject matters. That's what she's saying. Krishna, because you're the Lord, you're the supreme, you're the kind, you're compassionate. You're compassionate towards your devotees. So even though I may be a woman, because of you I can understand. And that's why she is coming out and saying that how can we women know you perfectly? She's glorifying her Lord. Same thing with Devahuti. She's saying, even though I'm not intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness because of you. You can explain it to me, my dear son Kapila Dev. Because of who you are, you can explain to me devotional service. So she's talking again about her Lord. And here, looking at this verse today, these women are they're saying in the previous verse, they're saying all these ladies are glorious. So they're actually glorifying these ladies, but how are they glorifying? Why are they? They're not just glorifying some women. They're saying all these women auspiciously glorify their lives despite their being without individuality and without purity. Now the word, it's interesting, the word without individuality, and I was thinking, what does that mean, without individuality? So I looked at the Sanskrit word, which was more confusing. It said apasta peshalam. Apasta, all I could think was pasta. That sounds like pasta, it stands for pasta, you know. So apasta peshalam. So I had a hard time actually figuring out in the dictionary, but peshalam means soft, tender. So you can tell your partner, could you cook me some pasta peshalam, soft pasta. That's how my mind goes. But anyway, so less intelligent woman. Apasta peshalam. So apasta means degraded. So the translation of apasta peshalam is without individuality. Apasta, it doesn't mean degraded, discarded. Discarded. So I thought that's interesting. Discarded, soft, tender, apasta peshalam, without individuality. So I realized what this means. At least this is what I thought or speculated, or is that these women were discarded, so to speak, by the people in general because they were kidnapped by Bhaumasura. And so, and I actually read that these women that Bhaumasura kidnapped were from all kinds. They were princesses of demons and demigods and I guess humans, whatever. But he had all these women who were kidnapped. And so it means that the example that came to me was like a street dog. You know, a street dog is it's a street dog. People don't pay attention, or they don't care for a street dog. It doesn't have a master, so it's all like not taken care of, and it's almost like discarded, so to speak. And somehow that example came to me. So these women who were kidnapped were kind of in that situation because they were kidnapped by another man. And so they had no individuality, just like a street dog. It doesn't. And when you have a person, master is there, and they have a dog, you look at it, you see so beautiful, and you know, whatever, you did some exchanges and by the master, but even by other people. And here the ladies are saying that these women were without individuality and without purity. But they're not really focusing on them. If you see the next sentence, their husband, the lotus-eyed personality of God, had never left them alone at home. So what they're saying is that although they were discarded, although they had no individuality, no purity, but their husband, Krishna, is so kind that he never left them alone at home. So first they were discarded from home, but he was so kind. Krishna is so kind. It's the opposite, that he never left them alone. In other words, he kept them. He kept them, all his wives, with him all the time, whereas previously they were on the street, so to speak. So the glorification Here, the women are what they're saying, even though they're using such words like without individuality and without purity, is actually the glorification of Krishna. When there are extremes, it's like, for example, one thought that came to my mind was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. What is so big thing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivering him? Because he was the biggest impersonalist. He was such a big impersonalist, and he had so many great scholars who were his students, including sannyasis, such a great impersonalist that Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, delivered him. So what it is it glorifies Lord Chaitanya's compassionate nature. That's what it's doing by showing the extremes, so to speak. And therefore, that's what's happening in all these cases where Kunti is talking about herself, or Devahuti is mentioning, or the ladies here are saying, it's about how, despite us being women, or despite these women being women, that how Krishna is so kind. And when you actually read Srila Prabhupada's purport, and I did not, to be honest, go and read other purports by Srila Prabhupada in regards to this topic, but just looking here, Srila Prabhupada's purport, what he's saying when he does use saying things like the women merchants and laborers are not very intelligent. He's not putting them down. No. He is not putting them down. That is not Srila Prabhupada. And when he's saying they're more materialistic, he's not putting us down, no. And when he's saying everybody else, Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, etc., he's saying that they're less than them are these people, but all of them can be delivered if they are properly engaged in devotional service of the Lord. So what he is actually doing is glorifying bhakti. Even to the point that he writes here, which is amazing, he says, there is no bodily disqualification of a devotee, just as there is no qualitative difference between the Ganges water and the filthy drain water when they are amalgamated. Isn't that amazing? Filthy drain water, when it comes in touch with the Ganga, and they come together and they become one. And then there is no difference between that drain water and the Ganges water. Pretty far out if you think about it. Such dirty water when it comes with the Ganga, it becomes all pure. And therefore Prabhupada says in the start, the devotees of the Lord are purified souls. So anytime we hear anything when Srila Prabhupada is talking in a way that you think that he's saying something about women or others, and again, Prabhupada doesn't spare anybody. He gets in the case of the scientist, he gets in the case of so-and-so or so-and-so. But it's not that he's getting on their case. He's talking about somehow they're glorifying the Lord, and that's what we see, his glorification. He's saying how Krishna is so compassionate. But then, okay, so that's one thing, one point that I got when I was thinking about this. But then is another thing that I thought is that it is important for us to think our low position. When Kunti is saying she is glorifying the Lord, but she is feeling her position as a woman. She feels it. It's not some low self-esteem or anything. She's feeling that. She's accepting. It's to accept. We have to accept our position. But not on its own. Always in relationship to Krishna. We have to accept our lowly position. So if we are in the body of a woman, yes, we should not think, oh, that's not me. We are in the body of a woman. We may be in the body of merchants. It's interesting. Krishna says, Istriyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras. So somehow that we always just get the Istriya part. We don't think about the Vaishya and the Shudra part. Wonder why is that? But certainly I never heard about Vaishya saying, Krishna says Vaishyas are less intelligent. But Krishna does say that. Prabhupada is saying that women, merchants and laborers, that's what he's quoting, are not very intelligent. But somehow we get stuck with the women. But merchants, most of the people are merchants or laborers. But it is important for us to feel that this is our lowly position, but not stuck there. Not stuck there. It is, but it is important to think that way, and then think that, oh, I am so low, but my Lord is so great. That sentence has to be completed. That thought has to be completed. And we see that our acharyas do that. We see over and over again in the bhajans of our acharyas, so many songs are like that, where there's singing, accepting their position. They're not just saying that, but they feel that. So many bhajans come to my mind. Gopinath. Gopinath, mama nivedana shuno, Vishai durjana sada kamarata kichu nahi mora guna. Gopinath. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is calling out to Gopinath and he's saying, what is he saying? I have no qualities. Vishai durjana. I'm just a Vishai. I'm a materialist. But he says that you Gopinath can deliver me. There's one song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that is just it's so intense. I forget how that. What is that song, Shamadarshini? Starting with A. Oh yeah. Can you say the lines? I forget. Kapunyera lesh. Yeah. Nahi kapunyera lesh. You will not find anything, not even a little bit of good qualities in me. Only that when we understand our low position, that we can actually call out to the Lord in desperation. So, yes, these are some of the thoughts I have. I have some more, but I think I'd like to stop it here. If anybody has any questions or comments. Yes, Divyanga Prabhu.
Thank you. Just like to say that next line is Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras, the next line, Te Piyanti Paramgatim. So who cares? You get the Paramgatim, it's No
Yes.
matter what you are, who you are, where you came from, you can go to the supreme destination. Prabhupada says in the purport there that it's clearly declared by the Lord that in devotional service there's no distinction between lower and higher classes of people. So there are definitely distinctions and there are higher and lower, but when it comes to devotional service, it doesn't really matter. As long as you engage in devotional service and are not offensive, it doesn't matter what you thought you were. Because you're not really a woman anyway, you're a spirit soul.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
The same point is made in the last sentence of the first paragraph.
So in the last sentence of the first paragraph, it says, by engagement in the service of the Lord, the designated disqualifications are removed. And as pure souls, they become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God.
Thank you very much. Jai Govinda Prabhu. Yeah? Jai Govinda. So, let me pose a question to all of you. So the fact that as I said, that our first philosophical truth, we're told that we're not this body, and when I read this verse, I thought about a woman put this woman about women, and I'm more conscious about being a woman. So my question to you is, so am I more in the bodily concept of life since I became a devotee? Or I am in the less bodily concept of life? Anybody would like to answer that? What's that?
We're not that close.
You're not, what do you mean we're not that close?
You seem transcendental to me. You sound transcendental to me. Your family is very spiritual. Everything I've seen from you guys is pretty transcendental.
I want some philosophical response to this, or...
You wouldn't be here if you were in mine.
So then why is that I'm thinking I'm a woman and a woman assigned me this verse about women talking about other women?
Because you have free will, you can think any way you want. But it is a fact that no matter who you are in this temporary little body, the shell, you're a spirit soul. So you might be a girl this time, might be a boy next time, might be an aardvark next time. Who knows? But if you're engaged in Krishna service, you get out of the whole cycle of samsara, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's a big deal if you're not a devotee, but if you're a devotee, this is like Hare Krishna 101. Clap my hands from the deities and all these lines. Nothing. I got people out there reading, the horoscopes and paying astrologers trying to figure out, when am I going to get something? And basically, all you got to do is go Hare Krishna and then surrender to Krishna. Of course, then you got to surrender to Krishna, and that's the tricky part. But if we can move on over this machine that we're in, because we think we're this machine, and we love this machine. That's why we identify with it. But if we practice Krishna consciousness, we'll get over it.
Thank you.
Geez, you hope so.
Pandavina Prabhu has a question, is going to answer my question also. He had his hands raised.
Oh, really?
Yes, Prabhu. So you're going to answer my question?
What is your question?
Oh my God, so you weren't even listening to my question. That's sad now.
Well, I have a question to your question.
Okay.
What is wrong of taking advantage I am a woman?
What is wrong taking advantage?
Of I am a woman.
I didn't get that.
In spiritual path. Look, I was thinking
What is
while you
wrong
were
to
speaking.
take advantage of being a woman?
Yes.
Oh, I have to be honest. I am perfectly 108% happy being in a woman's body. And if I have to take another body, I would love to be in another woman's body. Because Prabhupada talks about women that they easily offer obeisances to others. You will find that women are generally more there together in spiritual gatherings and everything. And also being in a woman's, it keeps you humble and allows us to serve others in a better way. So yeah, I have no problem. I have absolutely no problem.
I mean, to be honestly, it's very hard for me to think Krishna is my husband. But for you, it's easy.
Yeah, that's another reason I
I'm
like to be a
serious.
woman's body.
And if we look at the history,
Although those sages, when Lord Ram was in the forest, they wanted Lord Ram to be their husbands. The men were thinking, so it's allowed. It's allowed.
that's true. But if we look at universal form pastimes, how Mother Yashoda took advantage of being a woman. I say, what do I know? I think I'm the queen. I think I'm the mother of this boy. Krishna didn't like that, but because I think it's a big advantage when we see Haridas Thakur praying to Mahaprabhu that I was born in a low class, outcast, not low class, outcast. Outcast is lower than the low caste. These are like a component to bring the emotion out to approach Lord with the feeling.
Yeah.
I think it's an advantage.
Oh yeah, I totally, I 100% agree with you, Prangavinda Prabhu. It is. I'm putting all jokes aside. No, I think it's a great advantage. But like Divyanga Prabhu said, that as long as it's a great advantage, as long as we are take advantage, as long as to perform devotional service, because you do see generally, people. I was thinking about women in our Bhagavatam and places. We see that, for example, these women, they're on the rooftops, and they're just so sweetly just looking at the Lord from the rooftops and talking to each other about his wives. And it's just so sweet. And that's why in the next verse, Krishna is so happy that he gives them his glance and his smile. I mean, normally, when men talk to each other about Krishna, it's a more, and again, these are in a very general way I'm saying, like, okay, sit down and have a philosophical discussion and let's, that kind of thing. But women by our nature, we tend to be generally a little chitty-chatty about, and talk like that. And you see that they're using that, their nature, in glorifying Krishna in a very simple manner. And Krishna is so happy. Or you see Draupadi and when the queens of Dwarka, when they came together, what did they do? They just sat down and Draupadi said, so tell us, now how did you get married? And how did you get married? And they were talking about how did Krishna marry you? And we heard the nice discussions that came by Madhumati about that. And that's so sweet. Actually, last week, I was just coming to the temple and this devotee, she comes from Mangalarti, Kishori Rani, I don't know if you know her. They had just moved, her and her husband Kashishwar Prabhu and their daughter Stephanie, they moved from New York. And so I just met her and she was kind of happy. And so she said, I just chanted 64 rounds yesterday. And I said, oh, what was the occasion? Like there was no nothing, there was nothing on the calendar. So she said, my friend was visiting, who was here, Sumati Gorangi. Anyway, she said, my friend was visiting us, and so we decided, let's chant 64 rounds. I mean, they could be doing anything, but they said, okay, let's spend some time with Krishna. Let's both of us together spend so much hours with Krishna. I mean, this is called the women's nature, so simple but what is their thing? Because they have the mercy of Krishna, because they have mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava, their way to get together is to chant Krishna's name together. So yes, the women, we have advantage, and we should see it that way and not like, oh, why this or why Prabhupada is saying this or that, but actually see why Srila Prabhupada is saying what he's saying is actually glorification of Krishna. Yeah.
I was thinking also in spiritual world, in Golok Vrindavan, women has upper hand.
Yes.
Even in Adilila, chapter 4, one of the purport between 60 to 65, one of the purport Prabhupada says, Supreme Absolute Truth to choose to be under pleasure potency. So even Supreme God wants to be under woman, in a sense. I'm not saying the woman, the body. Also another way to look at it, I was thinking like, when I really want to get out of the sense enjoyment, that's the real test of sense enjoyment comes. When I want to get out of the body, actually the challenge is that I am the body like you, fully bloom. I pay so much attention that I am this body. But when I'm not thinking I'm not this body, then it doesn't even bother because I act as a body. But when I'm thinking I'm not this body, actually bodily features like everything, like what is going on in the body is like everything. Oh, I need this. Actually, I want to enjoy the senses. Like a list goes on and on and on. One thing is like, like if I want to get out of the sex or say any sense enjoyment, do I have a facility? Do I have intention? All these things are checked. One thing is that I'm this body, okay, I have a facility, I'm not this body, let's see. But when the challenges come, really want to get out of that, and by engaging the body in the devotional service, we are experiencing I'm not this body. Otherwise, that lady in the preaching technique, like we are bombarding, we are not this body, you are not this body, and she says, whose body am I then? Why you are bombarding that I'm not this body? Then whose body am I? So this idea is always there, that I have to be this body.
Yeah. Abhigya, you had some question?
Thank you, Mataji. It was really very beautiful class. I really enjoyed. And
thank you.
And I can see that, and I'm no judge, but I can see that you are raised from the platform of a man or woman. You are not there. You are above. And and I think you can only answer my question, and no man or woman can answer this question. Because you think yourself above. And I mean, you don't think yourself above, but I see yourself being above the platform of a man or woman. So my question is, given what we see in present world with the feminism going on, and sometimes I feel that I wish I were a woman because lot of advantages that you would get being a woman. What's your thought in the present world, and what our Rishi Munis had seen in the previous ages when they saw that women were degraded, and now I see that women are really living on a better platform than man. What's your thought? Did you get my question?
Yeah, I think I understand. Your question is, what are your thoughts? I mean, that things have changed according to you. You see that women were in a bad situation previously, and now women are in a better situation. I may see things a little differently. In some sense, women are respected by those who are, by the men who are respectable. So what I see is that nowadays, and Prabhupada talks about that women in a very unfortunate position nowadays, because women are not being protected are taken care of, and they're been exploited by, he uses the word unscrupulous men. And so he mentions that feminism is actually created by men to take advantage of women. It's culturally, things have changed so much in the world, not just in India, but even in the West, things were different. And are women in a better position right now? I'm not too sure. And why I say that, because that protection is not there and is taken advantage. Men are taking advantage of women. So this is what I have to say, is that men are taking advantage of women now. That's always has been there, but more so now in large scale. Men will, just to give you a little example, men will be with a woman for a long time and associate with them, so to speak, have a relationship with them, and then they decide they don't want to be married and go to somebody else. Women are unprotected. Women want to be protected, maybe whatever the word you may want to say, but they want to be cared for. They don't want people to take advantage of them, and that's why women, generally when they are married, they're taken care of. Although sometimes in marriage life we know that even the husbands may abuse their wives. That goes on. So yeah, as far as your question is, it's hard to say. This is basically, I have to say, this is the material world, and it's just a cruel place. It's a cruel place for, in that sense, for men or women. And Kali Yuga doesn't make it easier. Hi, Krishna Nandini Prabhu. Nandini is so kind, she brings flowers whenever I make the garlands for the deities. She buys some flowers so that I can make some nice garlands. Thank you, Nandini.
She fills her garage with books.
Yeah. Although you're all covered, I can't even see you, it's just like you're... Yeah. Yes, Nandini Prabhu.
Thank you for such a nice class. I would say I listened to your question when you were giving the class. It was a very nice question. So for you, I think more applicable shloka is the one where Krishna glorifies Brahmana's wives, you know, and second is applicable to you, is same as Srila Prabhupada saying to Mother Yamuna, among all my disciples, Mother Yamuna has attended Bhava stage. I couldn't find the exact quote, but
Mother Yamuna is what?
Attained Bhava stage. Amongst all my disciples, that's what he said. Not that Brahmana means verse is applicable to Shesha Prabhu, but it's applicable to you.
The question was not, the answer was not meant to be answered. It was not meant for my appreciation, but still I appreciate your sentiments, and hopefully I will come to that stage. Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, all the assembled Vaishnavas, men and women. Hari Bol.
I also appreciate all the advice you give to everyone. It's so sweet.
I have to just learn how to take it for myself, yeah?
Madhumati.